It's almost time for Santa to arrive, so let's make some crafts inspired by him. I saw this cute little Santa at Walmart and I loved his little outfit and the gifts he's carrying. So I wanted to create a pocket for him to hang out in using a Santa hat. I started by laying my Santa hat out on an old piece of foam board and I just traced around the edges of it with a pencil and I cut it out with a utility knife. I just wanted something sturdy to slip inside the hat so that it would be a little more rigid and not so floppy. I wanted to add the hanger for my hat before I started adding anything inside because I thought it would just make it a little bit easier. So I'm using some jute cord here and I just hot glued it to the inside of each side of my Santa hat. Now this is where it got really fun. I had clipped off a bunch of different pieces of Christmas greenery and Christmas flowers. You can see there's some berries there and some pine cones. And all I really needed to do was just stuff this hat full of greenery before I added my Santa. I didn't use too much hot glue to keep anything in place. Some of the pieces that I wanted to stay a bit taller towards the back, I did go ahead and add some clear tape onto that foam board so that they would stay upright more and not sink into the hat. Once I had a few pieces down in place, then I decided where I wanted my Santa to sit, and I really wanted him off to the side. So that's when I did go ahead and add some hot glue to the foam board so that I could hot glue the backside of my Santa's shoes to my foam board, and so he would stay in place off to the side of the pocket. Then once he was in place, I went and added a few more pieces of greenery off to the side and towards the front of my Santa. And this craft came together so quick, and I think it is so cute. The Dollar Tree always has such pretty Christmas cards, and I want to show you a way that you can create a fun sign using one of their cards. And this one's really cute because it does have Santa on it. So in addition to one of my cards, I'm going to use some fun peppermint striped ribbon. I also have a really sparkly floral pick, and I'm going to use a few of these giant craft sticks that I get from Walmart. I started out by cutting my card in half where it was already pre-folded, but in hindsight, it probably would have made more sense just to glue the card together, and it would have been a bit more sturdy because it would have had 2 layers of cardstock. So if you choose to do this, that's just a suggestion. You don't have to cut the front off the card. You could just glue it together. Next, I measured across the surface of my card, and I wanted to cut my craft sticks down so that they were the same width of my card. So I cut 2 of the craft sticks down, one for the top and one for the bottom. It's up to you if you want to paint your craft sticks or not. I decided not to because the ribbon was going to take up a good bit of the surface area. And because I didn't want my hot glue to show through my ribbon, I'm just adding hot glue to the very edges of my craft stick and stretching the ribbon across and gluing the other end. Then I flipped it over and added more glue on the back and folded the ribbon into it, and I did that to both of my craft sticks. I got lucky with this card because there was already a line at the top and the bottom that I could use as a guide for my hot glue. So I just ran a bead of hot glue along that line, and then I placed my stick on top of it. Once I had it in place, I flipped it over and really gave it a good push to make sure that that card was in that hot glue. Then I repeated the same thing on the bottom. I just added a small bead of glue, laid my stick into it, flipped it over, and pushed that card into the glue. I wanted to add a few decorations to the corners of my little card, so I clipped off some of the shimmery leaves and the glitter berries, and there was even another little mesh type leaf that was part of this floral pick, and I thought they just looked so nice together. So I clipped the elements off so that I could glue them on separately, and you can see I glued down 2 of the leaves and then that little mesh type leaf, and then I just added the berries on top of it. And then I repeated that same pattern, how I glued it in that top left corner. I also repeated that down in the bottom right corner. To create a hanger for my Santa sign, I'm using that same peppermint striped ribbon, and I'm just hot gluing one end into the top corner of my sign. And I made sure that the peppermint stripes were facing down so that that would be able to be seen from the front of the sign. If you're looking for a last minute gift or party favor, I got you covered. Grab a few candy bars of your choice, one of the car wash cloths from the Dollar Tree, and just a few pieces of cardstock. I'm going to be using black, red, and some silver glitter, and I also have a few buttons. I started by laying my candy bar down onto my red piece of cardstock. I just made a pencil mark where I wanted the width of my cardstock to be. Then I stuck it in my paper trimmer and gave it a trim. Now, this candy bar has the little flappy pieces that stick out on both sides, so I wanted those to show. So when I cut my piece of cardstock down, I made sure that it was just inside of the two ends of my candy bar. So you can see here, as I wrap the paper around the candy bar, the silver ends still stick out from the top. Once I had it wrapped the whole way around, then I just cut off the excess and I used some clear tape to hold that piece of paper in place. Rather than cutting into my brand new car wash cloth, I did have a leftover piece from another project, and I really only need a small piece for this. This piece is a little over an inch wide, and I just made sure that it was about the same length as my candy bar, and I evened the sides up so that they were pretty neat. Now, if you don't have any of this car wash cloth on hand, you could just use a piece of white cardstock too. Then I just used a little bit of hot glue right down the center of my candy bar and placed my piece of cloth on top. Next, I took my black cardstock and I cut a strip that was about an inch wide, and I also used my silver glitter cardstock and I cut a piece that was an inch and a quarter wide, and then I cut that down into an inch and a quarter square. Now, from that 1-inch strip from my black cardstock, I did cut a 1-inch square, so I have an inch and a quarter silver cardstock and an inch and a quarter square of the black cardstock. My 1-inch black strip of cardstock is going to act as Santa's belt, so I laid it down on the center of my candy bar and I just wrapped it around. I cut a little bit of the excess off, and then I'm just using a few dots of hot glue to hold his belt into place. The 2 squares of cardstock that I had cut are going to act as Santa's belt buckle. So I took the smaller black square and I just centered it inside of the silver glitter cardstock. Then I also took another piece of that same silver cardstock and I cut it down to, I don't even know that this is 1/8 of an inch, but I wanted it to fit inside of the black square so that it would look like part of the belt buckle. So you can see I just hot glued that off to one side to act as a buckle, and then I just used more hot glue to glue that on top of the belt. And the last thing I needed to do was add a few buttons to Santa's coat, so I have these little black buttons on hand. If you didn't have buttons, you could just use some black cardstock and cut out circles. Thanks so much for coming to hang out with me again today. Let me know in the comments how all of your holiday planning is coming along. All right, everyone, have a great week, and I'll talk to you in the next one.